Hello and welcome to my video on using trigonometric ratios. And yes, this is Mrs. Raro, and I always think today is a day that we will teach. It's a good day to teach our trigonometric ratios. Okay, so let's start. So a couple of uses for trigonometric ratios are to find the missing side of a triangle. In this video, this is where you will find this is where you will learn how to find the missing side of a triangle. In the next couple of videos, I'm going to show you how to find the missing angles and also how to solve some real life applications. There are many uses to trigonometric ratios in real life, so this is always important. Also, on the side note, all of us math teachers, whenever we are talking about trig ratios, you're always going to hear SOHCAHTOA, okay? All right. Before we begin, you're going to need a scientific calculator. Now, let me explain as to why this guy's crying. Because there are two different buttons, and those two different buttons are called degree and radian mode. So these are modes. If you ever get into algebra 2 or pre-calculus and on, you will know what radian is, but right now degree is what you will need. All right, degree refers to the degree of an angle, and then so if your calculator is set in radian mode, all of your calculations will be incorrect. Okay, and then another thing you need to understand is we need a scientific calculator that has a sine, cosine, and tangent, right? Sine, cosine, and tangent, okay? You do have a scientific calculator in your phone that has sine, cosine, and tangent, and then you have this button that says RAD, and if you click that button, it'll turn into DEG, and DEG stands for degree. All right, same thing here is another example of a calculator on the Android. Sine, cosine, tangent, it is what's important about this lesson. Okay, I have actually just researched scientific calculator in Google Classroom, and as you can see here, there's a RAD, R-A-D for radian, and then DEG for degree. Okay, and now I'm going to show you how to check to see if it's in degree mode. I usually press tangent 45. And then when you press enter, your answer should be 1. Okay, so that's how you know, and I'll explain that later in other videos why it's always equal to 1. Okay, now if I switch, let's say I refresh this, and then it's automatically at radian. Always enter tangent of 45 and then see if it equals 1. If it's 1.6, that means it's in radian mode. And now you know to change your modes from degree to radian. Okay, so that is the common reason why you're not getting these calculations correctly. Okay, so we're going to be using degree mode. So again, degree mode, and then I'm going to test it out, tangent 45, press enter, and that should equal 1. So now we know that this is in the correct mode. Okay, so let's get started. So have your calculator with you, and these are the steps and how to find the missing side. So say you have a triangle here, very specifically a right triangle, because these won't work if it's not a right triangle. So first, it's asking you to find the value of x. At this point, x is a side. It's a missing side, right? What we're given are two things. We're given an angle, and we're given one of the sides of the triangle. We don't know the other two sides, and very specifically, it is only asking for this one side right here, all right, which is labeled as x. So what you want to do is you want to identify what x is. Like, what's the relationship of this x to the angle that was given to you, right? So we recalled the three names for a triangle. There's the opposite side, there's the adjacent side, and there's hypotenuse. You also recall that I'm always asking you to label out your hypotenuse, so at least you get that out of the way, all right? So now x is right across from this angle that's 30 degrees, so this is called your opposite side, all right? So now I know we have an opposite, and then the side that I actually just identified, which is step 2, identify the side that's given to you. This is the hypotenuse, okay? So if you look back and you think about which trigonometric ratio uses opposite and hypotenuse, or whatever, vice versa, hypotenuse and opposite, the point I'm making is you know that there's only one of these ratios that will use opposite and hypotenuse, which is sine, okay? Sine of an angle is opposite over hypotenuse. Okay? So we're going to use this trig ratio of sine, and we're going to set it up as a proportion, and then we're going to use our calculator to solve for x. So let's begin. Okay, so we're going to use sine of 30 degrees, all right, is equal to its opposite side over its hypotenuse. Its opposite side is x, labeled as x. I'm going to mark it green. And its hypotenuse is 7. Okay, so now we are going to set this equation, this is a ratio in itself, is equal to this ratio. Okay, so it's going to say sine of 30 degrees over 1 is equal to x over 7. And that is a proportion that we can solve for x. When we solve for a proportion, we cross multiply. So we multiply this 7 by this. We don't multiply 7 times 30. We multiply 7 times sine of 30. All right, so this is 7 times sine of 30, which is a number. It's a decimal, okay? And it's equal to 1 times x. So that would just be x. And now we go to our calculator and we just enter in 7 and then sine 30. Okay, and now we press enter, and that is 3.5. So we go back to our problem, and x is equal to 3.5. And that's how you would figure out the missing side. Okay, you can also do an alternative when you don't have a calculator that's not scientific. You can do it piece by piece by entering sine of 30 degrees, and I will show you that this is decimal. And then you can multiply that by 7, and then that's how you also would get 3.5. All right, so I hope that made sense to you, and we're going to do plenty more examples, okay? All right, so let's say here we have to find the value of x. All right, so now x is here. Step 1 is to identify what x is. So x is here in relationship to this 25 degrees. X is adjacent. So this is the adjacent side, okay? And then the given angle, the given side is 9. We know it's 9, and we know it's across from the 90-degree angles, and that is always your hypotenuse. All right, so now we look back and we think about SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so which one of these has an adjacent and hypotenuse, AH or CA, right? So we're going to use cosine of this angle, which is 25 degrees, and we're going to set up the angle equal to its adjacent side over its hypotenuse. Okay, so the adjacent side here is x, and it's not always the case that the x is in the numerator. Sometimes x will be in the denominator. It really depends on how you set up your ratio. And the hypotenuse here is 9. All right, so we have a ratio that we can set up. This is on the left side, and then this is on the right side, okay? So then we will have cosine of 25 degrees over 1 is equal to x over 9. And at this point, we will just again cross multiply 9 times cosine of 25 degrees. So 9 times cosine of 25 degrees is equal to x. All right, so let's go back into our calculator, and we just enter 9 cosine 25 degrees. So this is a decimal. Usually we can cut it off at, it depends on where do they want you to round, but let's just say we want it to round to the nearest 100. So this is going to be 8.16. Okay, so we say that x is approximately 8.16. So the length of this x, its adjacent side, is 8.16. All right, so I hope you're getting in the hang of it. I'll do one more example, and then you could do a couple on your own. So here we go. We have to find x, all right, and x is right here. this is the angle that's given to me. And so I have identified that this x is its opposite side to this 50 degrees. This is your hypotenuse, but it's not, you don't know that side, nor do they want that side. So that side doesn't really matter to you. This is the given side right here, and the given side is it's adjacent to this angle. All right. So now I label so, ka, toa. Right, so which one deals with adjacent and opposite, or opposite and adjacent? And of course, you guessed it right, it's tangent. All right, so we're going to use up a tangent ratio. So tangent of 50 degrees is equal to its opposite over its adjacent. Okay, so now we're going to place the opposite side in the numerator, which is labeled as x. And its, oh, sorry, let me use a different color. Its opposite side is labeled as x, and then its adjacent side, which is labeled at 9. Okay, so now we're going to rewrite this as tangent of 50 is equal to x over 9. I forgot to put the over 1. And then cross multiply 9 times tangent of 50, 9 tangent of 50, and that's equal to x. All right, so now I go back into my calculator, and then 9 tangent of 50, and now that's equal to 10 point, let's say we're rounding to the nearest hundredth, so 10.73. All right, so x is approximately 10.73. Okay, and that wraps up the video on how to find the value of the missing side. All right, let's see if you can do this one all on your own. All right, we want to pause the video and then unpause it when you're ready to see the solution. Okay, so here it is. In relation to this angle, x is its opposite side, and then 35 is its I'm sorry, in relation to this angle, x is its adjacent side. I was thinking too fast. And then 35 is its opposite side. All right, so in this case, we're going to be labeling so, ka, toa. And we're going to investigate which one I should be using. And the one that deals with opposite and adjacent is right here, toa, so which is tangent. So we're going to set up a tangent ratio of 64 degrees is equal to its opposite over its adjacent. All right, the opposite side is labeled as 35, so I'm going to write it as 35. And then its adjacent side is labeled as x, which is I'm going to write x. Okay, now this is probably where you got stuck, because now you have tangent of 64 over 1, which is equal to 35 over x. So if you have this, you are in the right track. So at this point, we're going to cross multiply like what we did before, x times tangent of 64. So this is x tangent 64. So remember that tangent 64 is a number, okay? It's a decimal. So that's kind of like, say the decimal was 1.6. So that's kind of like 1.6x, okay? That's what that means. And then equals 1 times 35, which is 35, okay? So at this point, to get x by itself, we would divide this by tangent 64, which is, again, it is a decimal. Tangent 64 is just a decimal. All right, so here's what we're going to enter in the calculator. We're going to take 35 and we're going to divide it by tangent 64. Okay, so we go here and we clear this out. We say 35. We want to divide it by tangent of 64, right? And that's going to give me 17.07, rounded to the nearest hundredth. So x is approximately 17 point, I believe it was 07. Okay, 07. And if you got that far, you are doing such an excellent job. Okay, let's take a look at another example and see if you could do it on your own. Okay, so pause this video and see if you could do this independently. Okay, so let's get into this, right? So we have, again, I know it's a little inverted, but the steps don't change. So you want to identify where x is. So x in relation to this angle is its adjacent side. So I usually pick green for adjacent. So adjacent side. And then 28 degrees, 28 is its opposite side. So I know it's opposite because this is the hypotenuse and it's right across from the 44 degrees. So in this case, I will look at SOHCAHTOA and I will identify which one I need to use. So which one uses opposite and adjacent. So it can't be sine because that one deals with hypotenuse. Can't be cosine either because that also deals with hypotenuse. So TOA is the only one that deals with opposite and adjacent, right? So we can use a tangent ratio. Let's use blue. Tangent of 44 degrees is equal to its opposite side over adjacent. And now we label the opposite side to be 28. And now we label the adjacent to be x. Okay, that step is very important, as well as picking which trigonometric ratio to use. So now I'm going to rewrite it as tangent 44 over 1 is equal to 28 over x. And now I solve it using cross multiply. X times tangent 44 is equal to 1 times 28. And now I'm going to divide by tangent 44 on both sides, so that clears it out. Tangent 44. And now I'll have what x is approximately equal to. So I go here in my calculator, and I say 28 divided by tangent of, I believe it was 44. Just want to double check because every single degree counts. So that's 28.99, and again rounded to the nearest hundred would still be 28.99. So x is approximately 28.99. All right, so its adjacent side is approximately 28.99. Okay, and that is it. That is how you find the missing side. And I hope you finally understand how to do trigonometry. There will be many videos, and that is it. Thank you so much. Have a great day.